You know what? We didn't give you any. We should have given you proper credit for. You should have actually made us give you proper credit for that last episode beginning when you actually remembered a name of a movie that we didn't.
Oh, that's true.
And when I listen back to it, I'm like, wait a minute, Sean got one here,
And I like totally nailed it.
because he never has any names.
I said it right off the bat.
did.
Modern
You did.
problems.
And we were like, what are you talking about?
Exactly, but that's what happens. If we're not talking about something, shit just falls into this head, and then I just go, Chevy Chase.
You deserve credit. I want to give you your props for that. So.
Yes, for your
Congrats.
complete non sequitur.
Well, I didn't get any. I was hoping to get like a free copy of Modern Problems in the mail.
Chevy
Wait,
Chase
is that the only reason you mention things?
Sometimes
Trying to get things?
I'm trying to get Chevy Chase to do a sequel to it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Signed In, episode 107. I think that's right.
Sure.
This is Jeremy, Super Pro 33.
I'm Craig Profdresser.
And I'm Sean Shonix.
That's a great start off, right?
Yes.
We don't know what's going on.
Should we have some jingle bells in the background
Barely
here?
here. If you want to. You do the editing.
Then no.
That's
We
all
could
on
have
you.
done it.
Then no. We want none
If
of that.
nobody's compelling me to do something, then fuck it.
Yes, I do want
We could have
that.
did it live though, totally live.
We could have, but
But
we
I have
don't
no
have
jingle
them.
bells.
So we couldn't have done it live.
Oh, shut up!
If you would ask them ahead of time. How are you
I would
guys
have brought my
doing?
jingle bells.
Very good. Very
We're a
good.
couple
Good.
days before the holiday.
That is correct.
One of the holidays.
Yes.
In this time of many holidays. Okay, so I don't want to exclude anybody. Presently, everybody
For
at
once.
the table here observes Christmas proper,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Yes.
I observe it
Proper.
from a distance.
Now, I don't believe in Jesus, but I do observe Christmas because I believe in presents like a motherfucker.
Well, who? Yeah.
Well, I believe in Jesus. I should say. I don't want to get into that
The
here.
all holy hallmark.
We really shouldn't get into it right now, but
Is that the making of an ABC Family special?
a terrible
How
one.
Jeremy?
So, an
found
ABC Family
Christmas.
special.
How I found Christmas. Oh, there's presents? I'm in. So anyway, how are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Good?
Good.
Yeah.
Good couple of
Good.
weeks?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Busy.
Actually played some games.
Good.
I was less than busy.
You guys are awesome.
I played a couple games. Not a lot, though. There hasn't been anything out, though, either.
Yes.
Like,
No.
disc-wise.
No,
There's
yeah,
been a couple
yeah.
XBLA, but nothing.
Drew to a grind.
It did.
Yeah. Drew to a grind? I'm going to pretend that's a phrase.
Came to a grind.
Yeah.
Ugh,
No,
that's
I don't-
even worse.
I don't think that works.
I don't know. Anyway, so let's.
Yeah, that's a
what,
thinker.
What do we have to talk about?
I've got
Anybody?
mostly I've got XCOM Enemy Unknown.
Okay, I'll take
to
it.
kind of follow up on your tiny bits that you talked about.
I have some more as well.
Woohoo!
Lucky.
No multiplayer though.
I know, and that's probably my fault.
Dick.
That's probably my fault. I've been busy. We're gonna get some between
Watching
now and the
TV,
next
huh?
episode, though. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a lot of time.
Anything else, or is that it? XCOM.
I've got some other things
You'll
in here,
throw
but
in?
yeah,
Okay.
it all kind of
Yeah.
falls into your guys.
What about you, Shonix?
I actually played some indie games, a little smattering of those.
Yeah.
I jumped back into Far Cry 3
Yeah.
and played a little bit more. I got a little bit to say about that, but really that's about it.
It's our recap episode.
That's about it.
It's a follow up.
You know.
That's right.
You know, I played a lot of other stuff, but it seems like that was keeping me. It wasn't anything new. It was all my older stuff that was kind of
Well, there
keeping
wasn't
me
a lot of
around,
other
you know?
Yeah.
So,
I played some XCOM as well.
Yeah.
I also finished up Far Cry 3, so I have a
Nice.
couple more things to say about
finished.
that. Dude, we'll talk about it when we get to it. I played so much of that game.
Oh.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
There's two endings actually.
There is. And I think they're both equally terrible, but we'll talk about it. I also, on the XBLA side, I checked out Pinball FX, snuck out some old vintage tables,
Yep.
some of their old regular FX tables.
Nice.
Updated to the FX2 style, but I'll talk about those. And I took a look at Black Knight Sword.
As did I.
From Grasshopper.
Hoppa. And Suda 51.
Yes. And it looks like it.
Yes.
And it plays like it. I don't know what the fuck's happening in there, but we'll try to decipher that as we get to it.
Agreed.
And just as a reminder up front, I guess, in a couple weeks, our next episode, 108, will feature our best of 2012 games, where we look back at the year and try to remember everything we played in that year, which I
remember it all
Some might
because it
do,
wasn't a lot.
some might do better than others. So you'll be better than
I have
me.
a notebook.
Awesome.
And then I'm like, I
Can I include games from 2008 on my list?
Sure. That sounds good. And we'll look ahead at 2013 and anything else we're looking forward to coming out next year that is supposed to come out. Who knows how that'll pan out. And we'll have some thoughts from the listeners as well, so we'll include all that. So check out that show in a couple weeks. We'll be back with that. But let's get into the show right now then proper and talk about some games that are new.
Indie.
You want me to kick it off?
Let's do it.
I checked out an indie game this week finally.
What?
I think it's the first time in a couple weeks that something actually, or a couple episodes, that something actually really grabbed my attention right when I saw it, and that was Bleed.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is 400 points. It comes from Boot Disc Revolution, which the name sounds familiar to me. I couldn't find anything else that they've put out that I could track down to indie games, and I know that name from somewhere, and it's driving me crazy.
I can't think of it.
Regardless, it's a platform action adventure kind of game, side scroller, all those things.
Yes,
totally throwback 8-bit style, more like 16 probably.
Right.
Yeah. All pixelated out though.
Yeah,
fantastic chiptune music stuff going on. You're playing this female.
It's the far-flung future, and like all the heroes have become like there's this age of great heroes.
Well, it's even a play on Mega Man from the beginning, because you're playing as it's the year 20XX, and it's the height of all these heroes, video game heroes, and everybody's doing everything. Then they got all slovenly and lazy, and so you had this other girl, Rin. That's who it was. Thank you. Who wants to basically take the mantle as the best video game character in the world.
Right.
And so by doing that, she wants to take out the other video game characters or like heroes. So you're progressing through the stages, basically tracking down and killing these other video game people, which aren't actually based on anybody real. They're pretty generic in their characterization, so it's not really playing off of some of those.
Yeah, it more plays off of like what they've been up to in the past 1,000 years or something like that. Because the first one's like gluttonous or whatever.
It plays like a twin stick shooter, where you move with the left stick, you shoot with the right.
And so you have to use the triggers for jumping, which
was odd at first.
It takes me like 2 minutes to get used to again.
And she gets like a quadruple jump or something going on.
Like,
there.
I think it's three. I think it's three.
Yes.
Okay. I think because you'll hit.
We have the initial jump that you hit with the trigger button, and then you can do like 3 boosts on top of that.
Aim those.
Yeah.
And you can aim them. She does like a boost almost where you can like kind of shoot up and keep going. And so you can do it like up to additional 2 or 3 times and jump like really far. Really awesome mechanic, and it took a while for me to grasp it with the trigger, but once I started doing it a couple times, I definitely got it down pat.
Pretty solid.
They also throw in like you change buttons on the fly, or I'm sorry, change weapons on the fly with the bumper buttons, which is really handy. I think you can only have 2 at a time. You do get to a store option where you can buy other weapons.
Oh,
I think you can only have.
Did you pick up the game?
I haven't bought it yet, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
It's 400 points, which is a little bit. I wanted to try it out a couple times before I make that jump with the $5.
Yeah.
But once I tried it, even once, I'm like, I'm going to do it. So
I hear the difficulty ramps up pretty quickly.
Does
too.
it?
Yeah.
I haven't gotten that yet, so we'll see. But you can only have a couple weapons at a time, but you easily switch between them with the bumper buttons, and it's instantaneous. There's a bullet time option as well with the left trigger.
Yeah, where
that
you
slows everything down.
Yeah.
It's a limited use, but you can keep using it, I believe. So it refills every time. Yeah. And I really like that they gave you like your score on the top right corner. You're like how you're doing in the level, like where your grade rating.
Yeah.
And so it's a real time kind of thing. So if you're shooting a bunch of things, your rating's going down, or if you're like, constantly shooting without hitting anything, your accuracy's going down. Yeah. And so you can kind of see how you're doing in the level as you're watching that. So I had a blast with it. I think it looks great, sounds awesome. It was a lot of fun.
I think that's good for replayability because it's less like I have to push my way through this 15-minute stage or something or whatnot to find out how I did at the end.
Right.
And then I'm like, I did terribly. I got to do it all over again.
Although I was also playing around with it a little, and it seems a little... I don't know if I'm gonna say glitchy, but it seems a little odd where I just sat in a corner and kept hitting this. At one time there's a helicopter in the first level that you're facing.
Yeah.
And I had switched to my like rocket launcher. And so I kept hitting the thing and I wasn't doing any damage to it.
Right.
Because I think you're just supposed to keep climbing up this building.
That stage
but as I was just hitting it and I was in a spot it couldn't hit me, my rating just kept going. So I got all the way up to S.
Nice.
Like I maxed it out. I just kept recording damage against it. So I don't know how that balances out. I'm sure.
Is that for an end of level? Because I don't think I've finished the level because the demo doesn't let you compete against the boss.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's for an end of level or if that's for a combo boost or something like that.
I'm not sure. I thought
because
it was the end of level
there is a
rating,
score multiplier counter as well.
Okay.
Right?
I don't recall, unfortunately.
Neither do I now, actually.
Anyway.
I thought it was really fun.
Yes.
I dug the maps.
Nice.
It was very Castlevania.
That first stage
right
is
when you walk
very
into
Castlevania.
it. Yeah, I was just like, and I thought that it was very sharp. I like the designs of some of those little the creatures you're fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I think on that first level, there's weird cat things that throw stuff at you, and then there's like these weird like fireflies stuff. Yeah, it does. It looks a lot like
and then later they're throwing barrels like Donkey Kong.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of neat things to the game. At first, I just kind of wrote it off when I was looking at the screenshots, but once I played it, I haven't taken it off my hard drive because I'm just sitting on the fence about it. Cool. I want to get it, but I don't know. It's really cool.
Definitely check it out if you like those old school platformers, and it's definitely got some funniness going on with it as well. So some humor and a nice little homage to some of those older games. So definitely check it out.
Little homage here. Heavy Recoil, in my opinion, has a very strong Russian attack.
I would agree.
Vibe to it. But you get there's a little bit of a character change. They're a little armored up and they got big guns. And,
were they armored dudes or were they robots?
They look like armored dudes. They're not armored dudes. I don't want to play in a robot. I don't want to be a robot.
So you're just going to make it up?
So yeah, they're armored dudes.
They're armored dudes because you don't want to play it as a robot.
Exactly.
I don't think that's how the game makes it.
But you can. There's no continues. It's like a side-scrolling shooter, arcade style, but no continues. So it's a little bit
hard.
Yes. But
old school in that way?
Very old school in that way, yeah. And I liked, there's certain power-ups you can pick up throughout it. You get grenades, or you can have your one shot, because your grenades will just constantly go whenever you shoot, which I thought was really neat. Once I got the hang of it, some of the levels get a little bit weird, because you get I love when you can wait for bullets to pass over you.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things. So there's like this, like one guy shoots at you, so you duck, but then all of a sudden there's that one guy that comes out of the side screen, the left part really quick, and hits you, and then you explode. It had all those feelings that I had from those old, those old games. So I bought it right off the bat. It was 80 points. I didn't even mention that. It was 80 points, and it was from Mikhail Tillander. But I thought it was really cool that there is a local co-op option to it.
Oh, nice!
Which I thought was
two-player.
Which I think you would need to get further through it. I purchased it. I'm gonna keep playing it because it's one of those games where I feel like I can get better and better and better.
And you're a big fan of Russian Attack.
Yes, and once I learn like how guys are coming out in and out of the screen, I should, then you break the game that way. So, and I felt like that has that quality to it. But yeah, I like the look.
I definitely say you're a robot.
plain.
If you get shot and explode, you're probably a robot.
Well,
if you have a big power pack on your
you land in this giant orb thing. So I think you're a Halo guy.
Oh, it sounds like he's a robot.
Halo robot.
He's a Halo robot.
He's a Halo
That's
robot.
why you love it.
But totally worth checking out.
Halo bot.
It was fun playing those two games this week. Like those kept my attention in the indie marketplace. Cool. Those two.
In addition to those two, I also checked out White Noise. I believe the subtitle is a horror game or something like that.
It is. That's what kept me away from it.
From Milkstone Studios.
Yes.
I believe it was 80 points. I forgot to write that down, but
I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure it's 80 points. They have very few games that are not 80 points. And it's a very simple game in the style of the Slender Man games, if you're familiar with those. Are you guys familiar with that genre that has appeared?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know it as a genre, but I've never played any of the...
Yeah, so basically, with the Slender Man games, you're kind of wandering. They're part exploration. It's less combat-oriented, and more you're searching for things, and then there's this thing that will sometimes stalk you, and so you can usually tell that it's stalking you not only like if you see it, but also like there are usually visual cues to the screen and then noise cues, and that's why it's called white noise, because your screen starts to get staticky as this creature comes nearer to you.
That's like what I didn't like about Silent Hill.
Well, and see, the thing is that you don't fight the monster. Your purpose is to run away from it and to try and complete stuff. And so most of the time you're trying not to look at the monster because you're going in the opposite direction from it. And it's the monster will just kind of drop in the middle of places, kind of near, not like right on top of you, but somewhat near to you, and so then you can run off and then you'll lose it. And it doesn't really, it's not like it's stalking you along a path or anything like that. It just kind of pops up here and there.
Yeah.
And from the demo, they were just having you kind of walk around in these woods with these weird rock formations and such, and you're looking for these 8 tape recorders, and you can kind of hear the tape recorder like as you're getting, like, because there's no mini map or anything like that. And so if you kind of pass by one of the, it is somewhat linear, like it's kind of a narrow oblong path. Not narrow, like there's a lot to go back and forth, but it's definitely longer than it is wide. And so, you know, if you kind of pass by one of the tape recorders, I would hate to have to kind of go back and like search around for those things, just listening for kind of hearing the tape recorder going. And I don't know if there's anything past, you know, finding those 8 tape recorders and running away from this creature that's not not Slender Man. But yeah, it's one of those games. You don't move very fast. Like, you move at a very realistic human pace.
Yeah.
You can hold down like the right trigger to sprint for a little bit, and you can turn off your flashlight so that the thing can't track you as easily, or you can lose it. And, you know, it's got a bit of those scare. You feel that tension when, you know, even if you don't see the monster, you kind of tell that you're close to it because your screen's starting to go. And so, you know, it's got that bit of fun to it. So if you like those Slender Man games, I definitely recommend checking that one out.
You know, when I saw the screenshots for it, I saw your limited view, like in the dark. And
yeah, you have like this flashlight, and so you can't really see much beyond the flashlight.
I think that's my problem with it. Okay, so I play those Silent Hill games and everything, but that's because I'm in total control of my surroundings.
Yeah.
As far as like looking around, so even if something's coming at me or I can see it, I can move around and I see 360. You know, I can see everything. When I have just that limited like funnel vision,
first person view,
and that's creeping me out. I don't like it. I think it's the first person. I think that helps. That hurts too.
Oh yeah, that definitely does.
Versus like over the shoulder. That third person is fine, but when it's first person, I don't need that.
No.
I can't deal with it.
And I think the demo has a forced end that will definitely be a bit of a scare, because it'll be like all of a sudden.
I'm a baby.
But it is kind of cool. I do recommend checking it out.
All right. For those that like those kind of games.
Yes, exactly.
And not babies like me. Is that it for Indie? Do we have anything else?
That's it.
All right.
I don't know.
I'm going to go on to XBLA then real quick with Pinball FX2. Right. They released some Zen Classic tables. 800 points. It's 4 tables from the old Zen Pinball games that they did. They've updated them with the FX2, I believe, with the same styles, the same
these
look.
are not ones from FX1. These are from before FX.
I believe that they're before FX.
Oh, okay.
I think they're the Zen Classics, but unfortunately,
Okay.
I don't recall
I didn't really
their
realize
lineage.
that they were making.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't really know exactly, but all I know is they're not Pinball FX2, and they're older games, and they've been updated. But they have 4 tables. There's Tesla, which is an awesome table.
Yeah.
With all of this, like, I mean, it's very invention based and you know, like very steampunky with all their like you know, all that stuff going on. El Dorado, which is a lot of fun, which feels very like Indiana Jones and like in the Amazon and like you know, treasure hunting and all that other stuff.
Excellent.
Shaman, which I haven't spent a lot of time with yet, and V12, which is all car based stuff. Very, very old school, like just throwback tables. Not a lot of bells and whistles like you get with like a lot of the newer stuff that they're doing. But I kind of liked it. Like after getting all of that whole like run of, it seemed like every table was getting more and more complicated. You know, or like when we ended with the Civil War, that doesn't help because that got ramped up pretty bit, pretty much.
Table's.
So to get these where there's like
can't break that table.
to get these where there's like modes that you do, but it's not like super crazy and it's like it's a lot of ramps and stuff. It's like just very old school and throwback, and it was kind of nice because they're still in that same really well polished style. And like the table mechanics work really well, but it's not over the top like difficult. So it also didn't seem like they were really high scoring. It seemed like there was you had to work a lot to get your scores up, which I kind of liked as well. Not those crazy amounts. So of course, going to spend more time with them, but I've gotten to take a look at all of them at least, and I've had a blast with all of them. They're just great, nice, easy tables.
Just sold as a pack.
I believe they're only available as a pack, and it's 800 points, so it's like $250 per table.
That's not bad.
$2.50. I recommend checking out if you like those tables. It's nice to have just one that's slowed down a bit. Yeah, you can check out all of them.
Try the Tesla one out.
And you know what? Maybe they do sell them separate. I don't know because I looked on the marketplace and I saw the full tables.
I think I only saw the pack when I was looking in
but
the
I didn't
add-on
see any of the
section.
section. You know, like the individuals. So I don't know.
Probably so.
But recommend it.
Cool.
Word.
Definitely. I also checked out Black Knight Sword.
As did I.
From Grasshopper and Suda.
That game was weird.
Did you check it out?
Yeah, I checked it out.
And what do you think of it?
I don't know.
That sounds about right then.
Supposedly this is based on a fairy tale, The Black Knight.
Is it?
That's what they say. And
I more think it's based on a fever dream.
you start off as this dude who has hung himself.
Yes.
Who then comes
It's a good
down.
start.
Yeah. And then,
You know, it's all done as a puppet show, kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah.
It's a stage show with, you know, the thing is that there's like an audience kind of watching. They're reacting to what's going on.
I like that.
On the stage.
Yeah.
You're always kind of playing in the presence of the stage. So
Right.
the behind the scenes or your backgrounds will change
Right.
like a stage show would, where they'll drop in a new background or, you know, things will come on as other puppets or marionettes
Yeah.
or things like that. And so I really like the presentation style. Gameplay, I don't know so much.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I kind of wanted it to do more than it was, I thought.
Yeah.
And I don't
Here's the
really-
thing that really got
yeah.
under my skin. You stab the fuck out of everything.
You do.
Yes.
You've got this big old sword, and all you do is run around and jab things like repeatedly over and over and over again. It is so not a fulfilling gameplay mechanic.
It's really
Yeah.
weird that way. Like at first it kind of
It's
pulled me
kind of like
in.
you're masturbating things to death. A little bit.
So it's regular Saturday night for me.
I was gonna say, you don't want to waste your time with that in a game.
I know. And that's like
You
I
play
guess I
games
can-
to get away from real
I
life.
can get achievements for that though.
You could.
That is
So-
true. That's nice.
That I mean there is a plus.
Terrible. Yeah, and so like all the enemies are all weird, and then the enemies
Yeah.
are weird shit like chicken things.
The-
and,
Yeah, I like that though.
yeah, it wasn't
weird-
terrible, but
like
it was
the
weird.
potato head guys.
Yeah, I
Like
don't know.
like the shop creature.
That's like an eye, and then it's got a bunch of mouths.
It's all like Lovecraftian and shit.
Yeah, and you pick up hearts, and that's what you use as your currency to
And
buy
they eat the hearts
things.
and yeah. It was weird.
It's weird.
It was
it's
weird.
and it's essentially just a side-scrolling like hack and slash kind of platforming thing. And I did like finding the hidden things up above, because you could get in these sections where you didn't really see, they didn't highlight that you could jump on this building, but you
Right.
can, and then you can jump on clouds, and then you find these other doors
Yep.
where they have a hidden microwave that you can cut open and then get an extra life. I don't know what's
Microwaves.
going on with that gameplay.
I mean, I liked a lot of the style choices that they went with,
Right.
but the gameplay itself was just kind of flat.
I needed another button for some
It
odd
did,
reason.
yeah.
I don't know, something.
It needed something, yeah. And it probably actually was hurt by the fact that you're going with this stage thing, so it felt very limited, felt very kind of claustrophobic.
because
which
your
could have
view
wo-
was so limited.
Right, it could have worked for it, but with the limited controls, then it just felt really bare bones.
Yeah.
I think is what it ended up doing. But for me,
It's
at
800
least.
points. It's $10.
Yeah.
Which
So
isn't a bad
I'm
price
glad it's on the
point.
bottom end of that
Yeah.
price,
Right.
not 15 or more.
Agreed.
So that's good.
And then you collect those cat grass things.
What's going on with that? They're like cat head plants.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then you can look at them.
I love
did
the
see
one
that.
that
They
they
were
set
dancing
up.
and singing.
Yeah.
They set up one like right in a hole, so you have to almost
You have to jump in the hole. You do, but you have to land right on it, I found. I'm like, there must be ground down there.
No,
There's no ground down there.
Yep.
Like that's genius. I'm like, oh, cat, jump at it.
Collect
I'm
this
dead.
bonus and die.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I didn't like that. I think you have to start like all the way back at the beginning of the level. Like
It
if you die.
seemed hard that way. I think there are checkpoints, but there didn't seem like there was any in that demo part.
No, I think if you die, you have to start back
Yeah.
at the beginning of the level or something
Yeah.
like that. I don't know.
Seemed rough.
It's pretty rough. Yeah.
I think it's supposed to be though.
No, yeah.
And what I heard from other people that had played the game is that it does ramp up difficulty quite a bit in the full game, and especially when you like change the difficulty levels.
I really wish they would let you fight that boss.
I do too.
I
agree.
I kind of get irritated when
Yeah.
games don't let you try out a boss fight, because a boss fight can be very, very different from regular gameplay.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're dealing with limited lives and getting to the end, and then if you have to spend a couple to like figure out how to kill the boss,
Yeah.
that's going to be very irritating.
And their little advertisement pages were all like images of the bosses, and I'm like, well, they look awesome, but
I don't get to see any of them in action.
am I going to get pissed off fighting them all? Because
Yes.
then I'm not going to care
You
what
are.
they look like.
You are going to get pissed off fighting them all, from what I've heard.
Sure.
So maybe that's a sign to stay away. That's also a sign, yeah, when they don't let you do the fight. That also is like usually a sign to me.
Yeah.
Oof. At least let you get halfway through the fight.
Yeah, or something. I don't know.
experience.
Did Hell
it a
Yeah
little
let
bit.
you finish the battle?
I thought that
I think
they
they let
did,
you start it,
but I don't
least.
remember.
Yeah, I thought either I died or they just let you start it.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Regardless,
yeah.
Anyway.
it's an odd game,
Yes.
but I would expect no less. It's almost like they make games and don't care if they sell.
Right.
That's what I get from them a lot of times. It's like, and I'm glad that they have that option, that they can continue to put out things that they like and that they want to
Just
do.
see them sitting behind a card table with copies of their games out front. Them kick back their feet on the
don't
on the
give a
table,
shit.
wearing some shades and a beret.
They do not give a shit. Like, whatever.
Oh man.
It's great for them.
Yeah, that game.
Not for
I'm
you.
glad you guys kind of talked about it because if I would have tried to describe that game, yeah that would have been a bad.
Well, we still probably did a terrible
bad-
job. Don't worry.
Oh,
You got to play it.
I would have made up some stuff probably, made it interesting.
You guys got any other XBLA to
That's
talk
mean.
about?
No, that's it.
No,
So we're moving on to discs already? We're flying through. It's the holidays. People don't got time for this shit.
No.
Right.
So
I
we-
do technically have some DLC, but that'll go with the disc game.
All right.
So.
Should we kick it off with some Far? We want to talk back on some Far Cry?
Sure.
Cry.
So that'll probably be the shortest.
yeah, mine
Far
was
Cry 3.
Mine was more of I got to play a little bit more of than I did the last show, and I like this game a lot. I like the way it looks. I like when Komodo dragons attack me. I like when
I don't like when they attack.
like when you let tigers out of cages and they kill people.
I like that.
I like there's so many things, but I didn't get far at all in this game because I was like, ooh, look, a glider.
It's the GTA thing we talked
Yes,
about with
it
having
is.
all those,
And
and,
this-
it's not with side missions. It's with just shit.
And it's
to
so
go
it's
around
just
and mess
really
with.
pretty. I mean,
It's
it's
beautiful.
just really pretty, and I think that's what I have. Like when you get up to some of those towers and look around, and the fact that I didn't know there were zip lines on all the towers.
Yeah,
Yeah, I walked all the way down those towers. I did like 2.
that sounds terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible.
You should read that when they tell you there's zip lines.
I know, I should. And it was funny because I was on one, and then like I was passing, and then it showed the little A, you know?
Yeah.
A for zipline. And I was like, oh, and I couldn't get it again. And
You have to be in a really specific spot.
Yeah, so like it never showed up, so that's why I kept missing it. Yeah, they may have showed it underneath the screen. I don't pay attention to that stuff. I'm too busy fighting tigers. And
Not up on the
alligators,
thing. You're not.
shooting sharks. What?
You're not fighting tigers up on the
In
tower.
his game, he
In
is.
mine, I'm like,
Wow,
what?
he's followed you up.
I was like, tiger.
Climbed up the ropes.
But
And sharks.
That guy's pretty awesome.
but that was like
Mailman.
I did. Candygram. But I loved the look of it, the feel of it. I did play some more missions, but I found myself wandering. When this game price drops a little bit,
Yeah.
I'm on it. I want it.
It's maybe one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. In terms of landscape
Yeah.
and like that whole island setting that they have, it is just incredible, and it's so realistic looking. And it felt to me when I was playing it like this mix of a bunch of different games. So it felt like Call of Duty sometimes in the gameplay aspect,
Yeah.
like with the action adventure stuff that's going on. And then it felt like remember Just Cause 2?
Yeah.
Like it felt like a more first-person version of that.
Sure.
Whereas
Okay.
that kind of felt like Grand Theft Auto-y, where it was like just do all these crazy bullshit things.
Yeah.
The Island, it felt like they took that whole thing and made it into a more realistic game. So it's like the conversion from GTA over to Call of Duty, for instance.
Yeah.
It was like taking that world from Just Cause and putting it into a more realistic first-person action adventure
Sure,
kind of
yeah.
game. And it was just a blast. Like it was just so great looking, especially when I got on those gliders, and it felt like when I would use that parachute on that other game, and I'm like, this is fantastic.
It was really neat.
The depth of the island is ridiculous. Like, not to mention the fact that it looks great up top, but then there's everywhere you run, there's all these caves.
Yeah.
There's these underwater things that you can find. Then you go in there, and there's this whole world underneath this whole mountain you were in that you're kind of getting around to find
Very
all these
cool.
hidden objects. Because one of the things I didn't mention when we talked about the game originally was there are so many things to find in the game. There's these hidden idols you can find. There's
Those creep me out.
loot because they make those noises.
Yeah, and
like
I
little
think
tribe noises.
Yeah, and I think that I'm gonna get attacked because I'm like they're like baiting me. Like, okay, you grab one, that's fine. Grab two, okay. The third one's when a tribe's gonna come out and just blow dart, and then I'm down.
There's 160 of those artifacts to find, and when you get by one, they kind of do this really low
Yeah, yeah.
tribe sound. So that freaks you out. You don't
A
like
little
it
bit.
when you're in a cave all by yourself with your flashlight.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Or you
there's
find like an altar with blood and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, someone's got to be around.
when
And
a bear jumps out. But so there's those. There's these loot boxes.
Yeah.
There's what else is there? There's something else. What's the third thing? Oh, these letters you can find, like dealing with the Japanese war stuff that's going on. So there's all these things you can find that are hidden, and there's tons of them. But you can buy maps that have those all filled on your locations.
Sure.
So you don't have to. It would be impossible to search for them because
Yeah.
some of them are in these areas. So you'll find it on your map, but it doesn't really tell you usually elevation. If you set it as your waypoint, it'll kind of give you an arrow that points up or down. But on your map, you could be standing over it,
Right.
but you're on top of the mountain and it's underneath you in the water. So then it becomes, at least it gives you an area to go to,
Yeah.
and then you got to search around for it, which made it a blast. I thought that was great. It was just nice to have an instant be able to search for it if you wanted to.
That opened it up big time was when I like saw a loot box on my map and I went to it and it wasn't there. And I'm like, do I get a shovel? I'm like, do I have to do that?
Become
You know?
Minecraft of that.
Yeah, well, and that's what got me because you do. I like the
Digging
whole
down the mountain.
I like the whole creating things. Like
Yeah.
that was you were talking about that last show. It's
crafting.
like the crafting. I thought that was really cool. And like it made me go out more and kill more.
Right.
Like go hunting.
Because you're like, I'm not going to bother with any of this.
And
I'm
then
like,
that-
oh wait, I can only carry 5 bullets.
Yeah, and that's the vibe that
I
comes
guess
back.
I'm doing that.
That's the Red Dead feel I had.
Yeah.
But this actually it means something.
It means something.
Like
that helps.
it's gonna help me get through the game. Whereas before I just was getting money and I'd have like this stack of bills.
And there was no reason to do it at that point.
Exactly.
It was a clever way for them to do it. And it was so many times where I'm like, I'm not going to bother with it. And then I'm like, all right, I'm going to try and complete these. What animals do I need to go find? And then, it was making it, at that point, a side mission of me to go find
Yeah.
these specific things. And then I was able to not worry about killing any animals after that. So
playing it some more. I almost re-rented it again, and then I just said no because I have Dead Island staring at me, and I like Dead Island
Yeah.
for that aspect of what it had going on. But this is like so much better.
Yeah.
like cleaner, crisper.
looks so good.
And at first I hated driving in the cars. I've gotten so used to it, and I'm not a big fan of like the first person driving, and it works well. And I would like to see how I look driving, though.
Like a faraway shot.
like if they-
swerve
yeah,
off.
because there's some times where, man, I'm like flying all over and hitting sides of trees and
Going down a hill, like a side.
Yeah, and there's sometimes
Off-roading it.
I like the fact that there's some of them that like are there, and there's other that are just for background. So like I'll be cruising, and then bam, I hit a tree. I'm like, oh, can't drive through that one. So
We talked about.
I've had a blast with that.
I finished it out. I talked about that earlier. Can't think of a game I've been this addicted to. Like, I think in 6 days I played like 24 hours of it. So one whole day of like the week that I had it, I played it a full day.
Yeah.
And I can't remember a game recently where I was that much, just went home, turned it on, played for like 6 hours, and then stopped, and then all I wanted to do was play more.
Right.
But made myself stop. And I did that for like 6 straight days. And it was just because being in that like environment was so awesome. I wasn't even enjoying the story that much. But doing the stuff you were doing in it, and we talked about that last episode.
Yeah,
I hadn't pushed on with the story too much. Then I did.
Yeah.
It's not so great. I don't know.
Here's the thing.
Yes.
I've read something recently with the author of the game.
Yes.
And apparently it's supposed to be a commentary on games of this type. It's supposed to be testing you to see how far you will go for fun or to complete for the win condition.
Okay.
But yeah.
But by doing
The
that,
guy
you
is-
become the thing, right?
The guy, I know. This is an inherent. This is also a problem with Hotline Miami, where
Yes.
its intended message would ultimately result in you stopping to play the game. Really,
Right.
But
It's
also,
like, this is a commentary on anti-violence.
Yes.
In a game that's completely based on violence.
also the clues he kept mentioning, I'm like, oh, okay, I could see that as a clue, but I would never look for it as a clue unless you gave me some indication that there are clues I should look for.
Right.
You're supposed to be like, oh, this story doesn't fit, is terrible, but the gameplay is awesome. That doesn't fit together. There must be deeper meaning to this story. Is that going to be your reaction to a crappy story in a game that plays well?
Right.
No.
Right.
Fuck no.
Exactly. You're like, if only they would have got the story better.
Well, and he was like, I exaggerated it so much. You're killing endangered animals and all this shit. And I'm like, this is a world where Bulletstorm came out last year
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that. It's exaggeration does not equal commentary.
Right. You could. I could think you could do it better. So maybe it was a failed experiment in that way.
Yeah.
Because looking, I mean, it is ridiculous, and I know the intention of it was. I definitely got that from a couple different missions that I was on.
Right.
That they were very movie-esque about it, and kind of making your guy turn into an action hero. And giving him that idea and that feeling.
Right.
And you feel that as you're playing. I'm like, oh, you know, I talked about that moment where I was like, this is fucking awesome. And then 10 seconds later, my character was like, this is fucking awesome.
Right.
And so, you know, it is successful in that aspect. And you get to a point where you're like, I think you're even at home supposed to have the voice of his friends in the game as the story progressed, because they were kind of like, you know, who are you? You know, you're changing. Yes. And that's what it felt like when I was playing it. Like, obviously, I'm supposed to be in the same boat as these guys. And so he's kind of losing his way because he's getting lost in this whole, like, oh, I'm living a movie kind of thing. Yeah. And so as that plays out, it does get more and more ridiculous. And so I kind of get it, but it just... I don't know. I wanted, like you said, I wanted the game. It played awesome. It looked beautiful.
Right.
I wanted to have a story that was also enjoyable and not over the top, you know, trying to make some kind of statement or be a joke, you know?
Right.
I wanted a serious story.
It wasn't trying to be a joke.
Sorry.
He distanced himself from that.
Okay. I wanted it to be not satirical or a commentary.
Right.
I wanted it to be like an actual story that meant something.
Yes.
And in the end, I kind of feel like it was supposed to be, see, that's why it's a bad thing to do these things. Yes. I know why it's a bad thing to do these things. I'm cutting like tigers. Like, I know why that's bad to blow up all these people. I don't need you to tell me. But anyway, so the story outside of that, you know, you do some, even doing the missions where they were kind of over the top and crazy, there was still some awesome stuff that happened.
Sure.
And it wasn't until the very end that I ran into any frustrating parts. There are a couple things at the end where it was kind of frustrating. And so instead of taking my time, which normally it kind of worked the opposite, where in Call of Duty I would try to rush through.
Yeah.
And then once I slowed down and kind of systematically did things, it was fine. This was the opposite. I would slow down and systematically do things, and it wouldn't get me further. So I needed to just power through and fuck this thing.
Yeah. I noticed that about the game, and I think playing Call of Duty as much as I did before I played this game kind of, and I was in the first-person shooter mode, it kind of threw me off when playing it because I was trying to play it smart.
It goes the opposite way.
And I was getting killed, and then when I just was like, fuck it, I'm done. I'm done. I'm going in this village. I'm killing everybody. And then I went in and killed everybody. I'm like... Okay.
This time you were not supposed to stop before crawling to the plunger.
Exactly.
Steel Battalion.
Steel Battalion.
You know, you would even get to those points where you take over these camps, and those were a blast for me, like setting it up. And I talked about that, and that kind of fits into there where I would systematically go through and like find the people and like see where they're at, because if you highlighted them and saw them, they would stay on your maps. You would always see them through things, and I would kind of go around, circumvent, or like go around the whole thing and see everybody, and then systematically go through and take them out. And I did that a couple times for a couple camps.
Sounds like you're playing Hotline Miami.
And died. And I was like, well, fuck it. I'm running in with a rocket launcher and killing everybody before they can hit that alarm button. And that's what I did. And then they were all dead because they couldn't kill me fast enough. I would run and kill somebody, hide, and then sneak around and kill them again. And so, you know, once you just went in balls out, it was fine.
Yeah,
some of those.
I found that
it's a better option.
If I tried to sneak, I was just... And it wasn't about being found. It was just like when I killed that first person.
Well, when you go into a camp of 7 guys and can take them all out and nobody knows you were there, that was awesome. Yeah. That's a good experience.
Yeah.
Fun times.
And then diving, like cliff diving into the water is pretty sweet. There's a lot of neat things to this.
It's great stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun.
Awesome.
XCOM.
Enemy Unknown. I have put a lot of time into this game.
I put a lot more time into it too.
So just a quick reminder, if you're unfamiliar with XCOM, this is sort of an update slash... It's a new game, but it's got calls back to an old 90s computer game, X-Com. Here in the U.S., I guess it was like UFO something in England, whatever.
Gotcha.
Anyway, it's a turn-based strategy game largely. The large part of it is where you command squads of troops to take out these aliens that are assaulting the Earth. But in addition to that, there's a lot of sort of... I mean, you can call it resource management.
Yeah, that's what I would call it.
There's base management as well, and then also sort of balancing world protection and all. You know, you have to kind of keep all of these things together.
There's a lot of sim quality to it in that aspect. Yeah,
and I actually really liked that because none of it was like overburdening. Like it's not like you had to do a lot of steps for things. However, I do have to say, on my first playthrough, you go through they tutorial you for a long time.
They do.
I love getting tutorials.
But then they let you go, and it's like the one thing that they didn't tell me about was like satellites, and how important they are for kind of keeping the world under wraps, and then also getting in money. Part of my problem was when they had me launch my first satellite, I had already been playing around with like building facilities in the base, and noticing that they all have monthly costs to keep them up.
Right. Yeah.
And so then I go into the satellites and I see these dollar amounts, and I'm like, oh, that must be the amount that it costs to keep this satellite running.
Oh, as opposed to the fact that they give you that money.
Exactly. So Mexico is very safe. because they have the smallest amount.
And that means you're getting the least money.
Correct.
Awesome.
Yeah, so on my first playthrough kind of stalled a little bit, and I wanted to try out some other things.
Yeah.
It's still there, and I'm probably going to go back to it, because actually I was doing pretty well on the ground with my troops. But I hit a wall with money. Like, I make no money whatsoever.
See, I think that's where I'm at too now. I'm kind of in the other boat where I don't enjoy the resource management part.
Really?
I find it I can't handle it.
Really?
I get stressed out about it all. And so you were saying it's like you don't have to really worry about it. I think I put it all on myself.
Sure.
But I'm there and I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Right.
I don't know what to do with all these things. And
Here's
I
the
don't
thing.
know.
Here's the thing with XCOM. You have to be willing to fail somewhat.
I know. And
You have to look at the war and not the battle.
I know. And I have a problem with that. I want to do everything, right?
In my first full complete playthrough, I lost 2 countries like early on, just because there was nothing I could do to keep them. And later I learned that I should probably hold on to some satellites, be capable of launching satellites at the last minute to kind of any panicked countries, I can cover them. But because it's a careful balancing act. You'll get different types of missions, and one of the riskiest ones are these alien abduction missions, where they'll give you 3 choices for countries. And they'll all, they might all have different difficulties. They'll all have different rewards. They'll all have different panic levels already. And so those all factor into your choices. But then also the country that you go to and you successfully complete the mission, they'll reduce their panic by 3. But every other country, not only that country increases by 2 panic, but every country on that continent increases by 1 panic.
I know, it's
so
tough.
You do. I mean, there are times where I have to kind of back out, go check out the map, see what's going on, and figure out what is going to be the best choice. But I kind of like all that because it builds into what XCOM does really well and makes your makes consequences for your choices.
Yes.
In a lot of respects, it's sort of the gameplay version of The Walking Dead, where you really feel your consequences.
Because your choices have weight to them.
Your choices have a lot of weight to them. I mean, you could be like, I'm going to run this guy up and see if there's any aliens there. And then you stumble on 6 aliens all at once. They surround him and shoot the guy in the head. And then you're like, well, I fucking feel like a dumbass because I didn't have to do that. I could have moved the whole squad up next turn.
Right.
Safely. But no, I had to run him up there.
Exactly. I had that moment last night, actually.
Yeah.
Where we were going through this down spaceship. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, please do.
Ties in. I've gotten very systematic. I'm awesome on the ground.
Right.
I'm great. My ground game is awesome.
Right.
And that's
Are you playing on normal difficulty?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, but everything outside of that's where I feel like I'm falling apart. But I got my ground game. I've
It'll
hardly
all
had
come
anybody
together.
die. I think I've lost one guy, and it was just
Right.
like a newbie that got thrown in
Sure.
when somebody else was out.
Yeah.
But so we're going through this down spaceship that's huge,
Right.
And we're going through slowly, systematically.
Right.
Everybody is
sweeping the rooms.
Everybody's perfect. They're awesome.
Overwatching each other.
I get down to one guy. We've all moved in. There's like 3 enemies left in here,
Yeah.
or a couple enemies left. I haven't found them yet.
Right.
I have one guy that's the last guy to move up this round, and for some reason I have him walk through this door instead of walk up to the door.
I've done
and
that
slowly
before. Where
open it.
you didn't pay attention to the path they're going to go to.
Oh, I paid
And
attention.
Okay.
I knew. I'm just like, I'll just have him walk through it.
Yeah. One time I didn't. Sorry, just to interrupt
it's
your
okay.
interruption. One time I didn't pay attention, and so
Inception.
instead of going around like I thought he would, where
Yeah.
everyone else was going, he decided to bust through the doors on the other side and wake up like 3 aliens that all overwatched his
Nice.
ass. Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah. Anyway,
So
back to you.
I was going up and moving everybody up. and then waiting a turn, opening the door, because you can either bust through it and move through, and then everybody notices you if there's people on the other side, or you can open it, and then you're kind of still behind cover, and you're not making them aware. Right.
Yeah.
So I just had this guy move, and I'm like, well, I'll just move through it. And he went through, and it's 3 of those big mutons. Right. And so they react. In the next turn, they kill him.
Yeah.
He's not dead, though. He just got taken down or whatever. But we were doing everything. Nobody had any damage the entire way through this whole thing. And so then all of a sudden, shit just fell apart.
And it can do that.
It was awesome, but it was so irritating because I'm like, I was so smart the whole time. And then I just got lazy and sloppy.
Yeah. Yeah. Now,
One move.
there are a few
Your men are going to kill you.
There are a few glitch-like things that can be less than stellar. For
less than awesome.
Where, like, you know, I don't know if you've encountered sectopods yet, but they're a pain in the ass. But
which ones are those?
They're giant mechanical walking things.
No.
They're like Ed 209s.
No.
Oh, man.
That sounds terrible, though.
And sometimes I was playing one mission and we were all holding back because we were fighting off some mutons outside, and then all of a sudden one just dropped in the middle of all of us. Like the game decided to randomly generate it there for some weird reason. Doesn't happen very often, but on occasion.
But when it does,
we covered it. Like, luckily we all turned around and just shot its ass.
Okay, that's good.
But it was kind of a pain in the ass. But yeah, I mean, the when shit falls apart, that can often be because it builds your own story in that way.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, the story in the game is.
Well, it's what you make of it, like you just said. You know, you.
No, I mean their attempt at a plot.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's based. It's really just moving along and giving you plot points.
Yeah.
And like chapter breaks almost of saying, okay, now we have this, so we have to do this. That's what it boils down to.
It attempts a bit of a story at the end, and it's a little underwhelming. But it's all that stuff in between, and it can be really difficult to fight the urge to reload levels when I have that that sergeant who's been with me for a while there, and he just got floater got a lucky headshot on him and he just went out and died. I'm like, no.
That's awesome.
And I'll sit there for like 2 minutes thinking about, should I reload? I'll have to do all that shit over again.
I'm really lucky that I haven't gotten to that point. Like, I don't know if I've just been playing smart or been lucky, but I haven't had anybody get killed that I cared about.
Yeah.
But the problem is, it's been
especially because they give you those nicknames, so then I start calling them by their nicknames.
I have my note here, and it's once they get a nickname, ... And the reason for that is because, like you said, I'm fine with everybody. Like, I don't, who's this fucking guy?
Yeah.
I don't even know. They have all their fucking weird names for their countries that they're at. And so, like, you have the guy from, like, Nigeria, and I can't even pronounce his name or whatever. But then all of a sudden, now he's Godfather. And now I don't want Godfather, my sniper from Nigeria, to get killed. He's awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So once they have so many missions under their belt, they get a nickname. The system.
Their third level.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
okay. Once they
on
level
their third
up,
level,
the system automatically gives them a nickname. It's so and so Doc, and so and so.
My guess is that it's partially based on how they've played.
Yeah, because it seems to go around with tied to their characteristic in some way.
Well, yeah, I mean, different classes have different nicknames, and there are 4 different classes, and I was wondering if classes are based on kind of how they perform or if it's just completely random generated. It always feels kind of like it's how they perform, you know, like those dudes who are fucking running in there and just blasting aliens like 2 feet away from them, end up being the assault guys, or the dude who threw in the grenade successfully ends up being a heavy or something like that. But
but once I get that nickname, then all of a sudden I'm like, I care about everybody.
Yeah.
And I worry now that I'm going to get to that point, like you said, where the Ed 209 comes out and kills a guy. And I've been so lax this whole time of like, I haven't lost anybody. Everything's awesome. And then I'm going to get to this.
That's what's going to happen.
I'm going to get to the point where it's like I've had 15 missions with this guy and he's going to eat it. And I'm going to be like, fuck this game. I don't want to lose him.
That's awesome.
He's my boy.
Yeah, but that actually, that's when we, that's when we toughen up and we like get we get really pissed off.
You get vengeful.
We do. That's when we're like, fuck this UFO, and we just start launching rockets into it and all this.
You're totally Vasquez. Let's rock and just shooting everything.
That's what I worry about. This is why I feel like I'm playing it wrong. I feel like my ground game's awesome, but then we get to the interceptor part, and I feel like I can't take any of these UFOs down because I haven't put any resources into like buying new fighter jets to like take them down. Right. I don't have any of the bonuses for it, and then I feel like once the one shows up, I realize that I'm underwhelmed in that area or like underprepared in that area, and there's no time to make up for it.
Right.
So you have to like think ahead and be advanced, and I can't do that.
My recommendation is to
Play better. No, sorry.
Actually, to build the facility, workshops workshops don't help you so much. They actually just give you kind of a rebate, but laboratories help on research, and so you can research things really quickly.
I have a couple laboratories going on.
Yeah.
I think I have the foundry.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But
The foundry will be helpful. Man,
I don't know what to mess with when I get in there.
You really got to get the plasma weapons.
I have a couple plasma things going on right now.
Yeah.
I got those.
It sounds like a really cool sim, like you guys were saying. Like
It's awesome.
Sim City.
It's
but
really
just
complex.
Really,
yeah.
But it also is
better.
It is, and once you start like outfitting your guys and kind of upgrading their abilities, it gets kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Like, you would love it.
I admit I spent the 400
That
points
part.
for the pre-order DLC.
Did you?
That allows you to change the colors of, and you can customize.
Wait, is
a
the
lot of
color
stuff.
thing? Is that all it is?
You also gained like one character and all that. Man, those colors are helpful.
I bet.
I bought this after I was doing an escort mission, and we made it like almost all the way back to the drop ship. And there's like one fucking thin man in Overwatch standing right in front of the dropship and all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna move up. All right, you got a lot of armor. You move up and draw us fire, and then I'll have the dude just run off to the dropship. Click, click. Whoops, that's the guy we're escorting. He's running. Bam, 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 bam. Ugh. I'm like, fuck. Great. So now like all my snipers are all in black. My support are all like this bright white.
That makes
That's
sense.
awesome.
The heavies are bright blue.
Is it easy to see on the battlefield?
Yeah, and then I also, because you get hats and stuff too. And
You're selling me on it.
like I put all my supports in like berets, and like my badass ones, I give them shades in addition to that.
Dude. You got to buy all that shit?
What's that?
Do you have to buy it all, like
No,
money-wise in the game? You can just outfit it without any cost.
Yeah,
That's
you can change
badass.
the style of that.
And you can
the
easily
armor.
see it on the battlefield and
Yeah,
everything?
you can. Yep, I recommend choosing the brighter colors rather than the darker ones. There's some garish colors
I might be
schemes
in.
on there.
I
There's
might
like
be in on
30
that.
some color schemes that they have for it, but that makes it a lot easier for me. You know, I put all my rookies in red shirts.
Nice.
So I easily know who to move up to the front line.
Oh yeah.
And keep track of those sorts of things. It actually helps out quite a bit. I also purchased the first DLC for it, Slingshot, which includes a character who's this triad character from Hong Kong, I believe, if I remember correctly, or was it Shanghai? I can't remember now, actually. Who his bosses had found this alien device, and so he doesn't, they're going to sell it to the highest bidder or whatnot, and he feels like there's a higher purpose for this, and so he contacts XCOM, and we have to pull him out, and then he gives us this stuff, and so there's these missions that go along with him. He's got like maybe 3-4 special missions on his own, and then you get this character. He becomes a heavy, I believe. Unfortunately, you can't customize him. Like, you can't change his armor color.
Oh, really?
Or anything. Yeah. I can understand not changing his face and all that.
Yeah.
But and he's got his own voice and all that. It's okay. Like, it's more missions. You definitely if you choose to do, because you can choose to do the DLC or not. They'll give you an option, like random mission or do the slingshot mission. Get that started. And it ends up giving you a lot of missions during that month and the following month.
Oh, really?
And so, you can ramp up, you ramp up a lot of equipment and money pretty quickly
Nice.
from that. Unfortunately, it also ramps up the speed at which you encounter new aliens.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so, month 2, I'm already encountering like chrysalids and mutons.
Oh.
And so, these are pretty heavy duty guys, and my guys were not very well equipped for them.
Not ready.
So there was a lot of dying going on. This probably didn't also help that I was doing this on, because I played through normal on my first one, but then I also, my second playthrough, I just doing normal again, but turned on Iron Man mode. Iron Man mode only gives you one save file, and you don't control that, basically. It does auto-saves for you instead. It's more classic to the original
Can't
XCOM.
reset anything.
Yeah, before I move up to classic mode, which is there's apparently a big difficulty jump between normal and classic. But so that was kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
There was this one mission, I think it may have been the last of the actual slingshot missions, where it was just, we were working really hard. I had because a bunch of my guys had already been knocked out from the last slingshot mission that had been a few days beforehand or something. And so I had 3 seasoned guys and like 2 rookies, and the rookies were killing it. Like they both earned promotions already and all that stuff, and then we push our way to like the final stage of the level, and they drop a muton on us, and that motherfucker was just taking everybody out, and it was really kind of annoying and frustrating. So I didn't quite appreciate that they ramped up that speed of that, but otherwise it was pretty basic. I was a little let down actually on the first mission because, you know, you meet up with this guy and he's like, and my masters are not going to be pleased about this. And so I'm like, oh, this will be cool. I'll have to fight off aliens and triad members or something like that. Like they're going to show up. No, it's just aliens. Like it doesn't add anything else new to it. So it's a couple new maps, which were actually kind of welcome. But pretty similar mission structures and all that. But not bad.
There's a lot of gameplay in that game.
There's so much. I've played so much of the game. Yeah. My first one, especially because I wanted to do all the research and like every research thing. And one of the research things requires you to take down a particular UFO, which then allows you to do the research path that gives you an upgrade for the rocket launcher though, which is fucking sweet.
I love pulling out that rocket launcher. Like, I rarely use it.
Well, you can only really use it once.
Well, but I mean, even in those missions where I don't even use it because it destroys a lot of stuff.
Well, yeah, you don't get any weapon fragments.
Right.
Yeah.
But that one that I was talking about a little bit ago where the guy ran out and all those guys shot him.
Exactly.
Like, my lady behind the door, she's like, fuck you guys! And like pulled out a rocket launcher and blew up the wall. Yeah. So they had no cover then.
Oh, yeah.
And then everybody took them down and it was awesome. So it played out story-wise.
Yes.
She reacted.
Right.
But
yeah, I mean, because
I was panicked.
There's also a little bit
awesome.
of RPG in there. Because your characters all have stats. They all just kind of progress normally, I believe. But one of the important stats, and it'll become even more important later, is will. And you lose will, you permanently lose some will, like if your guy gets taken down, like to that critical state. And what will dictates, beyond some other things later in the game I won't spoil, but is that if they see somebody get like killed right in front of them, it dictates whether or not they're going to freak out. Because if
they don't have control of them anymore.
Because if they panic, you can't control them next turn. They'll take a wild shot too, hopefully against an enemy.
Oh Lord!
Not always against an enemy, but they will shoot at something.
It was that last night, or with that guy that got taken down, and the guy who was on the other side of the door, he got panicked.
Yeah,
like when that happened. But when I took down that wall with the rocket launchers, I panicked 3 of them. Or really? Intimidated. Intimidate, is that what it is?
I think that's something they do to you.
Oh, maybe they were intimidating me.
The mutants have an ability, because there's a mutant berserker later. Okay. Have you encountered that?
I don't think so.
And so, because he doesn't have like guns, he just runs up and pounds you, and he has like shitloads of armor. And so what he does, every time you shoot him, he runs at you. He runs at the dude who shot him and tries to tear. He scared the shit out of a rookie once.
It's great though. I love those little elements, you know. And the ground game, I just have so much fun with the strategy part of it. I love those longer levels when you're going through. There was one about a little bit into the game where you get that key and kind of go into that base.
Right.
That one was a lot of fun. It was just systematically going through, leaving my sniper guy back. He's got that awesome ability where if somebody is in range of one of my other guys, he can target them as well from no matter where he's at.
Squad watch is hard to give up. Yeah,
it is.
I did give somebody else the move and shoot one, but man, he's never within range of anybody.
So it's like he can kind of hang back, and everybody else moves forward, and as long as they can see a target, he can shoot them.
And as long as he's got a clear line of sight.
Yep.
And you got Hawkeye up in there.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah, on my first full playthrough, my
sniper
quickly ramped up a shit ton of... He was competing with Pitbull, my lady assault, who just fucking runs in there and shotguns everybody in the face.
Awesome. You know, it's really funny, the sniper guy I used too, and he's the one that has the Godfather name. Godfather is his nickname or whatever. But my original sniper got injured and was on the sat out.
Yeah.
And this guy just stepped up. And now all of a sudden, that other guy is like a piece of shit.
Sure,
and this guy. So it's funny because it's so like that, where it's like somebody gets hurt and the other guy steps up, and you're like, "You're the new guy."
Right, exactly. And
he gets his chance to shine.
This stuff that you're hearing right here, this is exactly what's great about XCOM is that you you become really enamored with the things that you're doing with the characters that you've kind of created in the game, and it just creates all these stories that you want to tell to somebody else. And then there was this other thing that happened,
Right.
You know, and I think that's its greatest achievement there.
Totally.
Its story is terrible. It's not terrible.
It's what you make of
it's
it.
It's really weak. That part is great.
Yes.
The plot that they tried to force down your throat at the very end is, well, it's hard to ignore it.
Is it?
Yeah.
Because your game's over?
Yeah.
That's the other thing. We'll talk about later. We don't need to talk about it
I
now.
hate those open games that do that. There's games that do that, you know, where it's like at first you got this whole like, oh, this is sweet, and then it's like, oh, we better wrap it up. And
Well, I mean, there had to be an end game of some kind.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Theirs was a weird choice.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Man,
I like it a lot. I'm still playing
Me too.
a ton of it.
guys might have sold me at least on a rental. On this
You
one.
should rent it and check it out.
Definitely will check it out.
It might be a little more involved than you want to get into,
Yeah.
like that resource
still-
management part. But if you can
Actually, if you play like on easy or something like
oh
that,
yeah, kick it down. Who cares at that point?
it's got a ton. It gives you a ton of cash. You don't really have to worry that much about
really?
it. Yeah,
I'm gonna change mine to easy.
you can change it on the fly.
I'm
Actually,
fuck that. No ways.
Oh, that's nice.
yeah, you can change it in any level.
I like that.
Yeah,
Cool.
and if you're a real baby, you can save at almost any point. You can't
I
save.
forget to save.
And then me too. I actually kind of like
'Cause it's
Iron Man mode
manual.
because it keeps doing the saves for me.
Because it's manual, so I get to a point where I'm like, "Oh, should I redo my save?" I haven't saved the entire time I've been playing for 2 hours.
Well,
I guess that's
what's
not
really
gonna be an
bad is
option.
then if you like lose, and then you have to restart.
yeah, that would not be good.
No, yeah,
Man, that's like Nintendo.
but yeah.
What do they want me to do?
I would
actually play.
I
from
would
the beginning?
recommend letting if your characters die. I would recommend letting them die because
I will.
It can actually get kind of frustrating trying to do it a perfect way because you're going to fail at some point.
Like I said, I luckily haven't had anybody die, but I'm not gonna cheat it if I do.
Yeah.
We're gonna suck it up and deal with it.
I'm totally gonna. My guys die.
You'll have those moments where you sit there for a while.
I'm gonna have memorials and funerals.
I could
There's a
bring it
memorial
back.
wall you can go to
There
and
is.
look at it, and it plays like
Music in the
Or a
background.
40 to the curb for
plays
'em.
like taps kind of
Yeah.
like thing going
Well, that's
on.
crazy.
And it's a wall of their names and how many
Oh,
missions and when they
man.
died. And
How many people they killed? Aliens they killed.
it's your memorial wall.
That's cool.
Man, those terror missions are kind of a pain, though. Terror missions, I think you get one every month or something like that, where it's a all-out attack on like this one country, and so you have to save these civilians in addition to taking out the aliens. And saving the civilians, you have to run within their circle, but man, those fucking floaters, they'll be like, I could totally take shots at you. Instead, I'm going to shoot these 8 people standing around me. And then the people run closer to them. I'm like, what are you guys doing? You're killing me.
Those are the ones you have to run up and like actually get
Yeah.
next to the person and they're saved or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the balls.
They get better as you go on, but especially that first one you do when you're pretty poorly equipped and you forget about throwing grenades.
Is that the one, that was in like that bar?
Sorry.
That bar area?
It depends. It depends
It's
on what
random,
it's given you. Yeah.
And then the one that came back as a zombie?
Yes, with the chrysalids. Fuck those chrysalids.
I didn't know that
they
was
always
happening.
fucking pop in and then like they get their free move and they're like right on top of somebody.
Yeah.
Oh my god, they always gank. Yeah, okay, anyway. There'll be this time where this one dude moves up and then all of a sudden 3 chrysalids are like, oh, we're here. And then they're all around him. I'm like, I guess we know what we're doing next turn. Anyway.
Watching this guy get punched
Done.
in the face.
Okay, I'm sorry. Done.
That's all right.
I could continue talking about this game forever.
We'll let you. We'll just unplug that microphone. So that's it, right? We're done?
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
That's it?
That's it.
Man.
Unless you have something else you want to talk about. No, it's a head shake. It
Yes.
doesn't work on the mic.
Well, I was trying to
Nobody
get
knows.
that
I
rock.
like how we left it
I was
there.
trying to get that rock going.
To make noise?
Yeah, I got earmuffs on.
All right. Well, signedinpodcast.com is our website. Find links to our Twitter, which I'm on Twitter at signedinpodcast. Sean is on Twitter at...
Shonix.
And Craig is on Twitter at...
The pull list.
Awesome. And you can find links to our Facebook page, all of our past episodes, a link to our forums, which we would love to hear from you over there. Comment on this episode if you'd like to.
Comment on your episode.
Yeah, make your own
Personal
episode.
episode.
Comment on it. Somebody should do a podcast about our show. Reviewing our
Oh,
show.
that'd be awesome.
No, they shouldn't. It'd be terrible.
I would listen to it.
Oh, there you go. You have at least one listener now. You can find links to all the other pseudo radio shows as well, like 3 Die Block and The Pull List. Email us at comments@signedinpodcast.com. We'd love to hear from you there, I guess. I just say the same thing every time, so try and mix it up. We don't want to hear from you. Don't email us there. That will probably make people email us now.
Exactly. Until you said that.
And next episode is our favorites of 2012 and what we're looking forward to in 2013. And we're also going to have some input from some of you folks out there. Some of you wrote in. Actually, we had a lot of people write in, but a lot of people didn't give explanations. So I can give, like, you know, some of their.
So we can add our commentary.
We can. Well, some people did provide some commentary, so we'll have that. But less people provided commentary than provided answers.
I see.
So we'll have probably a couple people that say things multiple times, multiple people.
I see.
I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, that's it, right?
Yeah.
All right. Everybody have a good. Hope they had a good holiday. It's probably done now. By the time you listen to this,
What? People are not listening to this
hope you have a
while they're hanging out with their family.
good New Year.
Yes.
Maybe that's someone's Christmas. Like they do that. They've been doing that every year. Is they listen to us on Christmas Day with
Those
their
are the
family.
saddest people in the world.
They unwrap the
Sitting around the iPod player.
Oh no, they probably have like a cool Bose system that's Bluetooth operated, and they can listen to it. You know,
Not just going to plug in computer speakers to the top of the MP3
that's
player.
at my house.
What family do you think would be cool with that?
I don't know.
Oh, exactly.
Manson family.
All right, we done?
Yes.
Thanks, everybody.
Later.
Bye.